The planet Ethelgard was a world dead in body but alive in spirit. For 50,000 years, the native species, the Aethel, had transcended the need for clumsy physical forms. They had evolved into beings of pure, coherent consciousness, phantoms of mind and energy that dwelled in the sprawling, silent ruins of their obsidian cities. To the rest of the galaxy, Ethelgard was a haunted world, a place where ships went silent and explorers died with frozen screams on their faces, their hearts stopped by terror without a single mark on their bodies. The Aethel were arrogant in their intangibility. They viewed physical life as a crude, temporary state, a mud trap for the soul. They were the ascended ones, masters of the astral plane. They could phase through the thickest armor, bypass the most advanced shields, and reach directly into a living creature's chest to sever the connection between mind and body. They didn't fight wars. They administered euthanasia to lesser beings who dared to trespass on their sacred ground. High Seer Valerius floated above the ruins of the necropolis, his spectral form a swirling vortex of deep indigo and cold azure. He watched with profound disdain as the human ships descended through the eternal twilight. They were ugly, brutish things, heavy haulers spitting chemical fire, scarring the sacred mist with their crude propulsion. They landed with the grace of thrown rocks, crushing ancient temples beneath hydraulic landing gear. They come for the graviton essence buried beneath our shrines, Valerius projected to his spirit kin, his voice, a psychic chill in the air. They are creatures of dirt and metal, blinded by the material. Let them learn that stone walls cannot stop the wind. Let them learn the terror of the ascended. The Aethel swarm gathered. Thousands of ancient souls rose from the crypts, a silent, shimmering army of ghosts ready to teach the intruders a lethal lesson in spirituality. The human expedition, led by Commander Elias Vance of the Solgov Spectre-Breaker Division, didn't look worried. They looked annoyed. They were industrial salvage experts, miners and combat engineers. They stepped off their ramps wearing suits that looked less like armor and more like walking industrial accidents, bulky, heavily insulated layers covered in thick copper coils, humming capacitor banks and grounding cables that dragged on the floor. Vance chewed on a synthetic toothpick, looking at the swirling mists on his thermal visor. It showed nothing. He switched to the ectospectrum filter. Right? Vance grunted, tapping a gauge on his wrist. Readings are off the charts. We've got Class 5 localized energy matrix coherence everywhere. Looks like the whole damn neighborhood is haunted. All units engage reality anchors. Keep your phase disruptors primed. I don't want any of these misty bastards frying the drilling rigs. The Aethel attacked in a wave of psychic terror. They flooded the ruins, passing through the human vehicles, letting out telepathic screams meant to shatter the sanity of mortal minds. Valerius himself led the charge, diving straight for Commander Vance. He intended to phase through Vance's chest plate and freeze the human's heart instantly. Valerius hit Vance's chest. But instead of phasing through flesh, he hit a wall of aggressive, oscillating electromagnetic static. Vance's suit hummed angrily. A massive discharge of white lightning arced from the copper coils across his chest, slamming into the spectral form of the High Seer. Valerius shrieked, not psychically but audibly, as his coherent energy form was violently destabilized. He was thrown backward, his indigo form flickering wildly like a broken holographic projection. Vance didn't even drop his toothpick. He just glanced down at a blinking red light on his chest unit. Damn static discharge. Hey Henderson, dial up the voltage on the personal fields. These ghosts are denser than the briefing said. The Aethel were stunned. They tried again. They swarmed the human engineers setting up the drilling equipment. They tried to induce the primal fear, accessing the deepest lizard brain terrors of the humans. They projected visions of death, of falling, of being buried alive. Engineer Sarah Jenkins was tightening a bolt on a graviton drill when a screaming phantom skull manifested directly in front of her face. She paused, blinked, and then tapped the side of her helmet. "Command, my HUD is glitching again," she sighed over the comms. "I'm getting major visual artifacts in the subhertz range. It's distracting." "Just turn up your visor's refresh rate, Jenkins," Vance replied. "Ignore the ghosts. Focus on the drill torque." The Aethel's ultimate weapon, terror, was completely ineffective. The humans were too pragmatic, too technologically insulated. They didn't see avenging spirits. They saw unlicensed energy signatures interfering with their work schedule. Valerius reformed, furious and confused. "Why do you not cower? We are the Ascended. We are beyond matter." Vance looked in the direction of the psychic voice, activated his external speaker, and cranked the volume. "Look, pal. I don't know what kind of spooky religion you guys are running here, but according to my scanner, you're just a localized pocket of semi-coherent boson energy held together by a weak gravimetric field. You're not a ghost. You're a weather balloon with an attitude. Vance turned to his heavy weapons team. Alright, I'm tired of the light show. Bring up the resonance cannons. Let's destabilize this entire zip code. 3 massive tanks rolled forward. They didn't have gun barrels. Instead, they had massive, dish-shaped emitters mounted on their turrets. They began to hum. The sound was so deep it wasn't heard. It was felt in the bone marrow. It was the sound of reality being nailed down. The cannons fired. They didn't shoot projectiles. They emitted a staggering, wide-area blast of phase variance disruption, a chaotic, churning electromagnetic field designed to shatter coherent energy structures. The effect on the Aethel was catastrophic. The moment the wave hit them, their intangibility vanished. The physics that allowed them to exist between dimensions was violently overwritten by brute force human engineering. Thousands of Aethel spirits suddenly became visible, flickering into the visible light spectrum as blinding, screeching figures of static. They tried to flee back into the walls of their ruins, but they bounced off the stone. The human reality anchors had solidified the local spacetime. The ghosts were trapped in the material world they despised. It was a massacre of physics. The human soldiers advanced, firing spectral net rifles that launched nets of electrified plasma. The nets wrapped around the flickering ghosts, grounding them, pulling them apart energy strand by energy strand. The Aethel, who had feared nothing for millennia, found themselves being hunted down like common electrical faults. Valerius tried to muster one final, grand psychic assault. He drew upon the energy of the necropolis, expanding into a towering giant of shadow and light. He loomed over Vance, preparing to crush the human's mind with the weight of 50,000 years of history. Vance didn't even look up. He just reached to his belt and pulled out a device that looked like an oversized tuning fork covered in industrial wiring, a localized harmonic shatterer. He jammed the fork into the ground and hit the activation switch with his boot. Thrum. Astros. A single, devastating pulse of anti-resonance tore through the air. Valerius didn't scream. He simply came apart. His towering form shattered like glass under a hammer, dissolving into harmless, dissipating sparks of background radiation. The High Seer was gone, reduced to static. The silence that fell over Ethelgard was absolute. The mist cleared, burned away by the electromagnetic storm. The ruins looked small, gray and empty. Vance pulled the toothpick from his mouth and tossed it on the ground, right where an ancient god had just died. Area secure, Vance reported. Spectral interference neutralized. All drilling teams, you are clear to commence operations. Let's get this graviton essence pumped before lunchtime. The drills fired up. The sound of human industry replaced the ancient silence of the Ethelgard. The ghosts were gone, exorcised not by priests or prayers, but by voltage, frequency, and the cold, hard application of industrial science. This is the ghost disruptor. Humanity is the only species that looks at the supernatural and sees an engineering problem. We don't fear the things that go bump in the night. We figure out their operating frequency and build a machine to bump them back harder. To the rest of the galaxy, a ghost is a terrifying mystery. To a human, it's just energy that hasn't been grounded yet. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. Ground your gear. Check your voltage. If you enjoyed this industrial exorcism of the haunted world, hit that like button. Comment below. What's your favorite fictional ghost hunting gadget, and do you think it would work on an alien spirit? Subscribe for the next conquest of Saga 9, the Alpha Tamer. The mist is gone. The drills are turning.